welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the book Dry by Neal and Jarrod Shusterman. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We have all tried to imagine what we would do if. Of course, we don't really know what we'd do. In the book Dry, the scenario is, what would happen if there was suddenly no available water? We follow the main character, Lissa, and her brother, their neighbor, and some other people that become part of their entourage as the story unfolds. We see them deal with each wave of what do I do now that you will experience in a real crisis. The characters in the book do find themselves in some violent situations, so know your audience when you are choosing your activities and when you are choosing your talking points. What I like about the writing in this book is how the Schustermans wrote the point of view of each character. I really felt like that I was seeing what they were seeing, feeling what they were feeling. I really felt like I was in their head. There's a point in the story where each of the characters have to decide if they're going to share water that they have. One example is when Alyssa is debating whether to take some water to a neighborhood meeting. What happens in that meeting is her basis for the other decisions that she makes. So, what you take away from this book, just like the point of views, are going to be different from what I take away from this book. There are many different layers to this book. You can go as deep as you want, or you can stay right on the surface, which is what makes it great to talk to almost any age about this book. Depending on who you have this conversation with, will determine what your talking points and activities are going to be. Since ultimately this book is written with teens in mind, and I am a middle school librarian, I'm going to choose them for my audience for my examples today. So I would either decide to read along with them in the book and discuss it as we go, or I may have them come and discuss it with me when they are finished with the book. It's just going to depend on what exactly you're looking for. But let's assume they have read the book. I would start off with, because there's so many places you could start, but I would probably start off with comparing the characters of Alyssa and Kelton. Because Kelton is raised from a survivalist mentality, the fittest win. And Alyssa, well, like the rest of us, we're aware of that, also is a very helpful, caring, compassionate person. So I would talk with them about what do they think was the right decision. Who do you think was right, Alyssa or Kelton, and why or why not? And then ultimately, what would you do in that same situation? Now, since we are currently in a pandemic, I probably would find a way to tie that in, maybe, with the toilet paper shortage, or for a small time, it was difficult to get food. Not that you couldn't get food, but you know what I mean. The stocks were low, people were worried about it, that kind of thing. So then you're making it relevant to current events. And while it's not on the same scale as having no water at all, you can draw the parallels there. As a parent, this book also made me think about what I would do if something like this happened, or even something similar to this happened. My husband read this book first, and then I actually listened to it on an audiobook. But we were able to discuss between us, even though we're not teens, we did discuss, what would happen. In the book, the parents left their teen daughter in charge of this younger sibling, and they went to go get water. The government was handing out water. They're like, hey, we need water. Let's go get some water. We'll be right back. We, as the readers, we do not hear from them or find out their fate until the end of the book. Neither do Alyssa and her brother. Throughout the entire book, they are wondering what happened to their parents. And while we don't get the parent perspective on that, it led to a discussion between my husband and I on, well, how would our kids handle that? What would we do in that situation? Would we both go? Because with us both going, it's probably so many waters per person. So what would you do if you were a parent? Let me know in the comments down below. So let's talk about some activities that begin you some talking points that you can talk to. Depending on what age level you have, you can, of course, cater your questions to that. But there are so many different things you can do with this book as far as activities go. You can bring in STEM. Maybe they could build their own water filtration system so they can have drinkable water. In the book, they do try to build something similar. And so have them work that out. That would be a great project to do, especially over the summer, uh, collecting rainwater and that sort of thing, or taking, in the book, they weren't far from the ocean water, so making it drinkable. Another thing you could do is use it as a writing activity. So, for example, using really any part of the story. But since this one I feel like shows point of view very well, and that's the part that spoke to me, I would probably use this for point of view. I would have them, we would talk about how the point of view was written for each of the characters and why they had those thoughts and feelings. And then there is, when I taught third grade, there's this wonderful activity that I did. I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. His name is Mark, the Thinker Builder. So make sure and check him out. He has no idea I'm mentioning him. We don't even know each other. But he has I just love all of his activities. And one of them is to step into the story. So what I would do is I would have them step into that story, picture themselves as part of the group in that scenario, and then tell their now perspective on the situation that unfolded at that time. I think that would be a great writing activity. Plus, it discusses point of view and really helps them get in depth with understanding that concept. Even though Michael is written those activities for the elementary level, I still use the same strategies for the upper levels. I, of course, adapt them a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, a lot of the kids that I have discussed books with and work with have never really thought about books that in depth before. Yes, they've talked about the surface stuff that we always talk about, but to really dig deep into parts of the book like that, they've never done before, and they end up loving it. But you have to teach them in little bites. And so I still use those strategies today with the upper levels. So if you go there and you're like, oh, well, I teach high school or I teach middle school, you can still use them. Just look at them and adapt them to what you need. Let me know in the comments below what activities that you have done with this book. I'm always looking for new ideas. Also, if you've already read the book, oh, I don't know if you can tell how much I like it, but drop a GIF or an emoji in the comments as well and let me know how you liked the book. Thank you for watching today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another review. See you next time.